can't no more. I got the horses in the back, horse stock is attached. Head is matted black, got the bushes black to match.
YouTube, what's going on? It is your boy Young Mustard, and today we are back with another video because this is something in the wake of Devin Booker's 50+ game I think that we need to discuss as NBA fans, and that is players on teams that they need more help. And when I say help, that's a pretty vague term because help could mean the teammates around you, help could mean the coach, the system, help could also mean the front office, your market. It can mean a multitude of things. But today we're going to talk about 5 players who need help from their respective organizations, and they need it pretty soon. So before we get into this video though, if you guys are interested in the giveaway, y'all make sure y'all stay till the end of this video because at the end I will be announcing the giveaway that I will be doing. So y'all make sure y'all stay till the end of the video to see the giveaway that I do. But without further ado, let's get into player number 5. Number 5, Victor Oladipo. Now I know some people may be saying, whoa, what are you talking about, Mustard? Victor Oladipo was on the Indiana Pacers. And the Indiana Pacers right now, if I'm not mistaken, are one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, despite the fact that he even got hurt. Well, my answer to that is yes, that is very true. But I think it's very clear that the Indiana Pacers have a ceiling, and that ceiling was even set before Victor Oladipo went down due to an injury. Now, I love Victor Oladipo. He is one of my favorite players in the NBA. Arguably, he is my favorite. It's a debate between him and Giannis because I love both of them because we're Nigerian brothers and we represent. But Victor Oladipo, he is a really solid player, but he cannot push you into being a championship team, especially with the current roster that he has. Don't get me wrong, I love players such as Sabonis, Miles Turner, and even Darren Collison has stepped up when it comes to shooting the 3-ball. But when it comes to some of the other pieces, they're not enough to push them into being an elite team in the Eastern Conference. Sure, when it comes to the numbers, and I've even made a video about the Pacers, I do believe they are an elite team by the numbers, and I think a lot of people were overlooking them when Oladipo was healthy. But if we're being optimistic here, at best this is a team that was going to be knocked out in the second round of the playoffs with Victor Oladipo. And sure, I do think that they had a shot to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, but if I'm being real, looking at teams like the Bucks, teams like the Raptors, and even teams such as the Philadelphia 76ers, sure, they have their weaknesses, but I would not take the Indiana Pacers over any of those teams. And the Boston Celtics, they could flip that switch at any point in time. Even if they lose Kyrie Irving, they still have a really solid roster, and they could get some other free agents this upcoming offseason. So the Eastern Conference is only going to get tougher. And if I'm being real with you here, when you have the New York Knicks and rumors with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, that's another team you want to throw in the mix. And Victor Oladipo, I know he did get hurt and it was a freak accident, but one could even wonder, maybe some of those injuries that he suffered this past season, or should I say this season, excuse me, maybe it could have been avoided if he had another player to share some of that load with. And I definitely think a Mike Conley trade would have been something that was very reasonable for them to do before the trading deadline, but they just didn't do it. So I definitely think that Victor Oladipo, he needs some help in Indiana. I love what they're doing there, but he definitely has a ceiling, and they have to push the boundaries now while the Eastern Conference is a little bit open, because it is a bit open right now as we don't know who the clear-cut best team in the Eastern Conference is, even though Milwaukee is favored. But at the end of the day, you do have some other teams that could take that title from them. So I definitely think the Pacers, they got to strike while the iron is hot. And Victor Oladipo, we don't know how long his ceiling is going to be open and how long this window is going to be open. So they definitely need to get him some help, especially offensively, as soon as possible. Number 4, Donovan Mitchell. Now, similar to someone like a Victor Oladipo, Donovan Mitchell is in a pretty solid situation, especially when you consider that he is in the Western Conference and they're a team that is among the 5 to 6 best teams in that conference respectively. But if I'm being honest here, Donovan Mitchell, he needs a bit more help on that team. Now, don't get me wrong, he has some solid players there. Joe Ingles, he also has players such as Ricky Rubio, who offensively, let's be real here, he's kind of a scrub. His inefficiencies are just getting so awful to this point. And he also has other players though, such as a Rudy Gobert, a Derek Favors. He has some solid players on that roster that I think he definitely can work with. But if we're being optimistic here, just like the Indiana Pacers, let's be real here, this is a team that at best will go to the second round and will be eliminated. So let's just be honest here. How great do you think that team is going to be moving forward? And if we're keeping it real here, this is a team that hasn't really struck gold in free agency. I mean, they just lost their best player 2 seasons ago to the Boston Celtics in Gordon Hayward. So I definitely think that when it comes to this team, they need to get Donovan Mitchell some help. And Donovan Mitchell offensively, he carries too much of a burden. No one outside of Donovan Mitchell can you say is an above average offensive player. And when you look at what Donovan Mitchell was going through earlier on in the season in his sophomore slump, let's be honest, I think a lot of the problem was, for one, their backcourt when it comes to shooting the ball. It's never been that good. And Donovan Mitchell as a 3-point shooter, sometimes he can shot chuck, and that becomes a huger problem when you got someone like Ricky Rubio in the backcourt who can't shoot the 3 ball in any type of consistency and has never really been that efficient to begin with. And when you have other players who are very dependent in their offensive game, players such as Rudy Gobert, Joe Ingles, Jay Crowder, Derek Favors, yes, he can post up, but when you have that paint clogged in with someone like a Rudy Gobert who can't move outside of 2 feet from the basket, that definitely becomes a problem. So I definitely think offensively, they do need to get Donovan Mitchell some help, because if we're keeping it real here, outside of him, this team is a horrible offensive team. So I definitely think offensively, they do need to get Donovan Mitchell some game and get him some help, because if we're being real here, it's going to get pretty bleak in some of those offensive possessions for someone like a Donovan Mitchell, and he definitely could use another offensive superstar and another threat to get some of that workload off of him. Number 3, Blake Griffin. Now, Blake Griffin this season has played phenomenal. He has not gotten hurt yet, and I definitely think that when it comes to his health, that may be something that he can finally put behind him, as this year he's played 70 games, and in the games he has played exceptionally well, as he has averaged 25 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, while also shooting 46 to 47% from the field, 36% from 3, and around 75% from the free throw line. So I definitely think Blake Griffin this season has definitely showed out, and defensively I've seen a little bit more effort and I've seen some improvement, so I definitely want to shout him out there. And I do think having someone like a Andre Drummond in the paint definitely takes some of that defensive slack from Blake Griffin. So I definitely think that when it comes to his offensive game this year, he has reached that to new heights, and he's having the best offensive year of his career in a very, very long time. But let's be honest here, Blake Griffin, do we really trust, for one, his health, and two, yes, it has been a very injury-free season, but when you look at the other pieces on this roster, it's very remarkable that with all the workload that he's had on his body this year, that he hasn't gotten hurt. Reggie Jackson, let's be honest, I think the ceiling was placed on him ever since last season. Actually, you could even say a few seasons ago, but if we're keeping it real here, at best he's an average point guard. Let's just be real here. Wayne Ellington wasn't really much for them, if we're keeping it real here. You also have Luke Kennard, who's a really good 3-point shooter, but outside of that, what does he bring to the table? He's not some rebounder, he's not a great passer by any means, and defensively, don't even try to make me laugh. And Andre Drummond, let's be real here, he has been balling over the past few games and over the past few months, but if we're keeping it real here, at best he's a guy who can give you around 15 to 17 points. He can rebound at a very high level, an elite level, one of the best rebounders we've ever seen, but he's not that efficient of a player. He's very streaky offensively, and his free throw ability, it has gotten better, but it's still a liability sometimes. So I definitely think that when it comes to this roster and this organization, it is a huge surprise that Blake Griffin has not gotten hurt with the supporting cast that he has, and the spacing. My God, the spacing is awful on this team. No one can shoot the ball with any type of consistency other than Reggie Jackson and Blake Griffin this year. Sure, Reggie Bullock was shooting well, but let's be real here, they had to kind of cut him. And Wayne Ellington, I like Wayne Ellington, don't get me wrong, but like I said, he isn't really anything special. And if we're keeping it real here, a lot of the players that can shoot the ball are not great defenders. So when they put them on the court, their defense becomes dramatically worse. So I definitely think that when it comes to Blake Griffin's window, it is right now, and they definitely do need to get him help, because with the numbers that he is putting up right now, there is no reason that those numbers should correlate to a 6th seed in the Eastern Conference and being one game above 500. That's unacceptable. They definitely need to get him some help right now, because the window, we don't know how long it's going to last, because injuries have always been a part of Blake Griffin's career, and right now they need to take advantage before it becomes a part of his career once again. Number 2, Devin Booker. Now, I'm a big fan of Devin Booker. I like his game. I think he has a lot of promise. But if we're being real here, I honestly don't know if Devin Booker is putting up really good numbers or if he's just not that impactful and he's putting up empty stats. But at the end of the day, we're never going to find that out if he's on a team like Phoenix, because Phoenix has never put any type of good supporting cast around him, or should I say a consistent supporting cast around him. They've consistently had high draft picks because they can't even win 30 games in a season. They've gotten worse each and every season since he's been there, and it's funny that their worst position, or should I say the main position that they need to fill, the point guard position, is the position that they were loaded with in talent so many years ago. This is a team that went from Steve Nash to Goran Dragic. Also, they had Eric Bledsoe and Isaiah Thomas, all 3 of those point guards on the same roster at the same time. Eventually they let Dragic and Isaiah Thomas go, and then they traded Eric Bledsoe basically for nothing, if we're keeping it real, and now they need a point guard again. And sure, they could get a Ja Morant, or hell, if they get the first pick, they could potentially get Zion. But if we're being honest here, those players deserve so much better than an organization such as the Phoenix Suns. Sure, it could work out for those players, but let's not act as if having so much talent is the only key to building a dynasty. You have to develop those players, and the Phoenix Suns have yet to do that, other than players like Devin Booker. Now, DeAndre Ayton, he has a lot of promise. I do like Mikal Bridges. I'm a huge fan of his. But if we're being honest here, let's look at some of the other players they've drafted over the years. Players such as Dragan Bender, he's a bust. Josh Jackson was picked, and if we're being honest here, De'Aaron Fox was the pick right after him. And when you see the need that they have at the point guard position, that's pretty sad if we're being honest. So I definitely think that the Phoenix Suns, they've got to put some talent around Devin Booker, because there's no reason that he should be putting up the numbers that he's putting up, and they're still the worst team in the Western Conference by record and one of the worst teams in the NBA, and they're going to be yet again a top 5 pick in the NBA draft. And I specifically remember that Devin Booker said going into the season that he's done missing the playoffs. Well, D-Book, you're going to be missing the playoffs if you stay in Phoenix consistently in your career. So if we're keeping it real here, not only are we not going to put him in the conversations among the better players in the NBA because of the fact that he's not on a team that is that impactful, and sure, his numbers look good, but he's not winning games, but also he's going to probably want out. In Phoenix, I know they do not want that because they have a solid young core that they're building, and that will put a huge wrench in their plans. But I definitely think they got to put in some talent around him, because if they don't, man, we're going to be hearing some Devin Booker trade rumors sooner rather than later. Number 1, Karl Anthony Towns. Now, I'm a big fan of Karl Anthony Towns, and I really do like his game, but if we're keeping it real here, I don't know for sure how impactful Karl Anthony Towns can be on a championship team. Now, defensively, we all know that's his hugest problem, but offensively, he can do everything that you want from a center. He can shoot the 3 ball, as he's shooting over 40%, and he also did that last season, and as well as rebounding at an elite level, he can also pass at a really solid level for a center. His passing ability is something that I think is very underrated. He's a guy that is going out there and putting up 25 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists on over 52% from the field, over 41% from 3, and around 84% from the free throw line. And there is no reason why those numbers should not equate to a team that is contending in the Western Conference. But right now they are below 500, well below I should add, and they are the 10th seed in the Western Conference. Let's be real, they're already eliminated from the playoffs. That is a shame. This is a team that is way better than that, or should I say has a player that is way better than that, because when you look at the supporting cast, it's been very disappointing. Jeff Teague was supposed to be some consistent point guard play after losing Ricky Rubio, but he's been anything but that. You also have players that, let's be honest, their ceiling has already been reached. players such as Andrew Wiggins, Robert Covington, Dario Saric, and honestly, Karl Anthony Towns deserves better. And sure, he did take that max, but the same thing as Devin Booker. You're coming off of that rookie deal. You're trying to get the most amount of money that you possibly can. And sooner rather than later, we're going to be hearing some trade rumors. And Karl Anthony Towns, I think he definitely does want to be considered among the better centers in the NBA, because when you look at all the other players in the NBA at the center position, Joel Embiid, Rudy Gobert, Nikola Jokic, they're all winners. They're all on teams that are contenders or at least in the playoffs. And Karl Anthony Towns, I think he knows that he deserves better than to be a 10th seed in the Western Conference. But now that we have concluded the video, those who have stuck around for the giveaway, here are the instructions. 1, you must be following me on Twitter, so make sure you go. The link is in the description box. Go and follow me on Twitter. Secondly, you DM me or at me, or just do one of those two things, and you DM me or at me your first and last name. Make sure y'all do that, and you will be entered into a drawing that I will be doing. It will be a random selection drawing. I'll be drawing 2 people's names, and the 2 people that I draw will be winning a gift card, a $50 gift card I should add, from the NBA. So I definitely think that is something that if you're interested in, y'all make sure you enter into that giveaway. But now that we have concluded this video, y'all make sure y'all do that. Follow me on Twitter and social media links. They will be down below in the description box. Y'all make sure you subscribe, hit the bell to be notified after each and every video that I post. Also, you guys, make sure you comment and drop a like. Let's get those likes all the way up there. Y'all have a great day. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Peace.